Welcome back to Mysterious Law UK. I'm glad you're here, though perhaps not everyone who ventures to tonight's locations come back quite the same. Tonight we're travelling to the very edge of the dark peak, to a place where the moors press in close, where the old Roman roads vanish into hillside, and where the locals will tell you in low voices that something has always been wrong with the dark. We're going to Glossop, a mill town in the High Peak of Derbyshire. Charming, quiet and ordinary on the surface, but beneath that surface, centuries of shadows. 5 stories, 5 true accounts, drawn from local records, newspaper archives and paranormal files. Some of these events were witnessed by multiple people. Some were recorded by mountain rescue, and some are still happening. So settle in, turn the lights down a little, and let's begin.
Welcome to Mysterious Lore. The Devil's Bonfires of Longdendale.
Just north of Glossop lies Longdendale Valley, 15 miles of dark, isolated moorland stretching through the Peak District, flanked either side by 2 forbidding ridges, one called Bleaklow, the other rather ominously a shining clough. For centuries, and I mean centuries, people have been seeing things out here. Lights, hovering, dancing, pulsing lights drifting above the moors late at night. The old folk of the valley had a name for them. They called them the Devil's Bonfires. The earliest accounts are buried deep in local folklore, well before electricity, before motor cars, and before aeroplanes. Generations of Longdendale residents grew up knowing the lights were there, knowing to stay off the moors when they appeared, and knowing that no good explanation had ever been found. In more recent memories, the reports have continued. One local resident, a teacher named Sean Wood, who lived at an isolated grey stone house right at the head of the valley, the kind of house that sounds like it belongs in a ghost story. He described watching a massive pulsing blob of light hovering 50 to 70 feet above the ridge, moving back and forth, up and down, before vanishing. He watched as this, not once, not twice, but more than 30 times over 16 years. One Valentine's Day in 1995, a woman named Laverne Marsh was driving through the Snake Pass with her daughter and baby grandchild when 4 or 5 balls of light appeared dancing in front of her. She checked it wasn't torches, or it wasn't a reflection from her car headlights. The lights moved, and then they were simply gone. Glossop Mountain Rescue Team are serious people, engineers, trained volunteers, people who deal in facts, and yet they keep a log, an actual written log of calls from members of the public reporting distress flares on Bleaklow. Time after time, rescue teams have climbed those moors in the dark, following the lights, only to find them fade away as they approached. No walkers in trouble, no flares, no light source, nothing. As one journalist put it, the lights are as real as the moors themselves. They are just inexplicable. Scientists have suggested that the heavy quartz content in the rocks could be the cause. Ionization in the atmosphere, possibly even altered states of consciousness in those who wander there. Others have pointed to the wreckage of the nearly 50 aircraft that came down over Bleaklow during the Second World War. Planes that flew into dark peaks, never to return. But those theories only go so far, because the devil's bonfires were burning long before any of that, long before anyone could even explain them. And on certain nights, on those black moorlands above Glossop, they still are.
The Phantom Legions of Bleaklow.
2,000 years ago, the Romans built a fort just outside of what is now Glossop. They called it Melandra. It sat at the edge of the Empire's northern reach, a garrison on dark moors connected by a military road to another fort, 12 miles to the east. Those roads are now buried under centuries of peat and heather, and according to local legend and the accounts of modern walkers who have experienced it firsthand, so are the soldiers. The wardens of the Peak District National Park have received reports from ramblers on Bleaklow who describe seeing spectral legionnaires, whose companies of them marching in formation across the windswept moors. Those are not vague shadows of shapes glimpsed in fog. Witnesses have described the soldiers in extraordinary detail, their distinctive armour, their weapons, their bearing, marching in silence, marching with purpose, marching as though the Empire never fell. One park ranger reportedly told investigators that a witness had to be taken to hospital after their encounter on the moors. Whatever they saw out there, it shook them to the core. Local folklore say the Phantom Legion set out from Melandra, where we are now, on the night of the first full moon after the spring equinox. They march the old military road east towards Bleaklow, perhaps still guarding the pass, perhaps still carrying out orders issued 2 millennia ago. Some accounts say their torches glow as they go, and some believe it's precisely these ghostly flames that give rise to the devil's bonfires seen flickering over the valley below. At Coombs Rock, on the valley edge, there are said to be the remnants of different kind of phantom. An ancient host of Britons, led by a chieftain named Edus, forever preparing for the Roman assault that destroyed them in life, frozen in time, frozen in the moment before annihilation, Two upright stones stand nearby, known locally as Robin Hood's picking rods, said in an even older legend still to have been used as target practice by the outlaw himself. The moors above Glossop are ancient beyond reckoning, and whatever is out there on those heights, Roman ghost or prehistoric echo, walkers are quietly advised, if you're on Bleaklow on a spring full moon and you hear the sound of marching, don't follow it.
The girl who never left the Norfolk Arms.
We come off the moors and into the town itself to the Norfolk Arms, a pub that has stood at the heart of Glossop since 1823, when it was known as the Tongue Time and served as a coaching game for travellers making the perilous journey across the dark peak over towards Sheffield. It is, by any measure, a handsome old building, the kind of place you'd be glad to find after a long walk in the cold. But the Norfolk Arms has a guest who never drinks, never eats, and has never once paid for a room. Staff and regulars have reported seeing her since at least the 1990s, a little girl no older than 10, with golden hair and ringlets. She appears in the bar, running and playing, jolly as you like, and then she ducks down behind the counter and simply vanishes. Simply isn't there anymore. During renovation work at the pub, builders made a curious discovery at the exact spot where the little girl always vanished, right behind the bar area. They unearthed a hidden staircase leading down to the cellar, a staircase that had been sealed up and forgotten for who knows how long. Where this child came from or how she died is not recorded in any local archive, but the same small figure, same hair, same playful run has reportedly been seen in the cooperative food store in the town centre. The two buildings are not far apart, and investigators have suggested it may be the same entity moving between locations, drawn perhaps to the place where people gather, where life goes on.
The haunting of Glossop Rectory.
Some hauntings are mischievous, some melancholy, and some carry with them a weight of old violence that never quite fades from the walls. Glossop Rectory belongs to the third kind. The haunting became known when the family cook, a practical woman presumably not given to flights of fancy, handed in a notice. The reason she gave was simple. She'd seen a figure in the house, a man in black robes moving through the rectory without making a sound. She did not stay to find out more. Around the same time, the parson himself, his wife, and several other witnesses reported encounters with a second figure, a thin woman in a dark dress, her face indistinct, blurred, as though seen through fogged glass. She appeared multiple times, she never spoke. Local tradition supplied an explanation, as local tradition often does. The man in black, it was said, had been a priest, murdered by his wife within those very walls. And the woman with no face, that was the wife herself. Both of them returned to the place of the crime or their punishment, forever bound together in whatever passed between them in life. Whether the story is true, whether a priest really was killed there, whether justice was ever done, is lost to history. The records do not say, but the figures kept appearing, and those who saw them in no doubt about what they had seen and encountered. There is something particularly unsettling about a haunted rectory, a place that is supposed to be a refuge from dark things, a place of prayer, of comfort and light. Whatever happened at Glossop Rectory, whatever old darkness was sealed into those walls, it left a mark that neither time nor prayer was able to wash clean.
Hilda and the Butterfly.
Our final story tonight is perhaps the most haunting of all, not because it's frightening, but because it speaks to something we rarely consider. The idea that love and grief and devotion to something you have built might be strong enough to keep a person here even after they are gone. In 1954, a retired professional actress named Hilda Knight gathered together a small group of passionate locals in Glossop and began the slow, difficult work of bringing proper theatre to the town. She was the driving force, the director, the one who kept everyone going when the obstacles seemed insurmountable. By 1957, they had their space, the second floor of the old Glossop Liberal Club, converted into a proper theatre, the Partington Theatre, Hilda's Theatre. There was only one shadow over the triumph. Hilda was ill. She'd been fighting tuberculosis throughout those years of building, organising and rehearsing. She saw the theatre open, she saw the curtain rise, and in 1958 she died. That should have been the end of it, but actors who have performed at the Partington Theatre over the decades will tell you something strange. During productions, particularly at the final curtain call, at that moment of completion and release, Hilda understood better than anyone. A butterfly appears out of nowhere, a single colourful butterfly drifting through the theatre where no butterfly should be. In 1989, witnesses reported Hilda making her presence felt in an entirely different way, interfering with the lighting rigs, making adjustments, nudging things this way and that, as any director might keep an eye on the technical side of things. The people of the Partington Theatre do not seem frightened of their ghost. If anything, they seem comforted. Hilda is not a dark presence or a restless soul. She is, by all accounts, simply still there. Still watching, still caring, still unwilling to miss a single performance. Perhaps some places become so dark, so deeply a part of us, that we never truly leave them. Perhaps what we love most fiercely holds us, even when everything else lets go. Whatever the truth of it, in a small theatre above an old Liberal club in the middle of Derbyshire mill town, something still watches over the stage. And where the curtain falls and the lights dip and a butterfly drifts through the dark, well, the actors know. Five stories from Glossop. 5 accounts drawn from the archives, the paranormal records, and the long memory of a town that sits right at the edge of something very old and very dark. The moors that ring this place have been whispering their secrets for thousands of years. Roman soldiers, phantom lights, unhappy dead, and the ghosts of the devoted. Glossop carries all of them, quiet, steadily, and the way that old places do. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please do like and subscribe to Mysterious Law UK. It generally helps the channel reach more people who love these stories as much as I do. And if you have a tale of your own, something heard, something seen, something you've never quite been able to explain, you can find me in the comments below to reach out through the links in the description. There are so many more stories out there just waiting to be told. Thank you for watching this video. If you like what you've seen, give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you've been to any of these places and have your own experiences, or there's somewhere that you'd like us to go and tell a story of, leave it in the comments and we can have a look at it. Thank you.